Thank you for staying with us through the audio challenge we had to go through. But of course, that is already fixed right now. And I still have right here with me Femi Rogers, the Chief Executive Officer, ROSTON Group. Thank you also for staying with me.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So before we went on that timeout, you were talking about some of the challenges that sort of bedeviled the sector in 2024. You talked about finance and some other things, but I need us to run now. So I want to look at some of the issues. You probably want to look at regulatory and legal issues, infrastructure deficit, and you want to see financing constraints, which you have also talked about. And then high construction cost, all of this sort of stand tall among the challenges, the industry faced. So beyond just talking about these challenges, talk to us about how, players in the sector were able to navigate these challenges.
Regulation is a big thing right now, and that's why you find a lot of demolition going on. Previously, I think there was not enough good planning, and so you have, and not just good planning, we're not regulating the industry very well. So you have people without the right documents, they don't have permits, and they are building. There is no right zoning. So regulation is one of the biggest issues that we have. But I think the government in various states are trying to make sure that people are building in the right zones. And that's why I'm not very much, I don't think going straight to demolition is the only answer to it, but that's why they are trying to control by taking out those houses that are built in the wrong places. Also, infrastructure. Now, we have a huge problem in this industry, real estate industry, starting from deficit, infrastructure, and this has to do with funding. The government, the economy is so bad right now, there is very little they can do about all these issues. I think that leveraging on the private sector to work with them to deal with all these issues will be an ideal place for them to go. We have to build a lot of infrastructure. Infrastructures are down, especially in places like Lagos State, where it is congested. You have so many people moving into Lagos, and it's having an impact on the infrastructure. Government should look at a way of working with developers, with homeowners, into maintaining and building more infrastructure rather than trying to do everything on their own. There are different ways it's done all over the world, where they can get other people to build those infrastructure and manage it.
Interesting. That looks like PPP or just private investors?
Apart from PPP, there's so many various ways you can actually incorporate the private sector. I know of places, so for instance, when we're talking about community, government does not have to put drainage by themselves. They don't even, you can, when you're giving planning permits, you can make the homeowner put the drainage in front of his house and also maintain it. So when he's building in his plan, you say, okay, you're going to build this drainage to your standard. You inspect it and make sure, okay, your drainage is done, the one in front of the house, at least your space, your driveway, your sidewalk, everything is designed with your permits. So that way you have taken that out of the government hand. Even maintenance, you go around and inspect that, all these things are maintained. If it's not maintained, you give them a ticket, government can make money out of that. Even the land itself, there should be certain regulation on how you build, how much space you take. I see a lot of people build houses 100% on their lot in Nigeria, and it's part of what is causing flooding because there is nowhere the water is going to sink into the ground. We should have landscape within houses. All these are planning, and all these are ways the government can take some of the liabilities of their hand and pass it on to other people. Other areas too, you can bring in investors, developers to build road network infrastructure in communities and give them concession to manage it for a period, maybe 10, 20 years. They don't even have to pay those people. They can give them tax incentive. You know the way Dangote built a road, I can't remember where he built the road, maybe Obajana.
Yes, Kogi State, basically.
Yes, so he was giving tax incentive to do that. And there's a lot of big developers that would gain from tax incentive itself is money, is income. It's so there are so many ways you can partner with them. You have to come and discuss with developers. What can you bring to the table? How can we work together and take some of these issues of the government?
Right.
And even the homeowners can work together with managers and developers. If, for instance, we begin to do all this and the communities are looking good, government can tax more and make money from property because the value of properties will grow. When we go abroad, we see communities with green area, parks. Imagine those areas they are developing around Maryland about a year ago. What I see that is happening after they demolish it, they left that place in a vacuum. That happened in Abuja a couple of years with Nasiru El-Rufai. Now, when you leave it in a vacuum and you don't give it to other people to manage, they're still going to come back and build in those areas. So what you should do is look for property managers, look for people you can concede these places to manage it. You tell them, look, what we want here is green area. We want places where people can walk out. We'll give you tax incentive or something that, because when you do all this, the government themselves will make money from it. They don't have to put the infrastructure themselves. So this is the way you can develop and work with other people. It doesn't have to be the government alone. They should start thinking outside the box. There's so many ways you can work, make other people do the work for you and regulate.
That's quite interesting. You said interesting things. And for me, I was just wondering because Nigeria and in fact, Lagos, has houses and neighborhoods that are not well planned. Talk about poor ventilation, no space between houses, and so many things we see. And of course, you also probably want to look at the rate at which houses are, collapsing and all of those things. These are very low quality houses, if you ask me. How did we get here? I want to believe there are laws that are supposed to guide all of this. So what is happening? Why are the developers churning out this sort of homes?
Regulation. It's regulation. I think the biggest problem we have in Nigeria is the government is not doing their work. What is the work of the government? They come up with policies, they come up with laws, and they regulate that law. What we see is the government trying to become builders. They are trying to own, institutions. Government should take their hands off all that and let the private sector deal with it and focus more on regulating and making sure things are done to standards. That's big on itself for them to work on. So they're not doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, which is regulation. That's why you find people doing anything they like. After 10 years and a whole community is built, over 200 homes, then you come and demolish. That's a waste to the community, it's a waste to the government, it's a waste to everybody. You shouldn't get to that point. So I think the biggest problem is the government is not focusing on their main duty, which is providing the laws, providing the policies, and regulating and making sure people meet up with that standard. That's what we have up till now.
Let me come in here a bit, if you do not mind. I'm just wondering, what about the people who are building these homes? Aren't they aware that there are regulations? Why is it that they don't follow these regulations? They just build it. And some even probably just, do kickbacks and all of that just to get things going. I think it's a double-pronged conversation. There is the part of the government, and there is the part of individuals, Nigerians, developers, builders, homeowners who are actually perpetrating these things. How do we deal with all of this?
I think there's a saying that says where there is no law, there is no order. Something like that. I can't remember what it means. I wouldn't blame the people. In a place where there is housing deficit and there are no land, they're not making more land, especially in places like Lagos and Abuja. There are no infrastructure. We're not spreading out to the suburb. They're not building infrastructure to the suburb. People need to build homes. So they are desperate. You have a lot of people. So when you get somebody offer you land and you know that the government is not going to come to meet you, or they tell you, look, government is not going to come to meet you, there's nothing is going to happen, go and build your house. Desperate people will build on canal, build anywhere they like just to get a home. So as long as we have the big issue of shortages, there is going to be a lot of things going on. The work of the government is to make sure this does not happen. Planning and everything, standards are being monitored, and so that's going to happen eventually if the government is not doing what they're supposed to do. So I'm not gonna blame the people.
The people.
Yeah, if there is no policing.
Right, so it's the work of the government to ensure that people follow the rules and play by the book.
Absolutely.
Now, let's look at this. Some of the trends that we have seen over the years. We've seen commercial real estate growth, real estate investment trusts. That's something I'd like you to speak a bit about, and also technological integration. I'd like you to talk to us about this and the opportunities during for people who are looking at where to invest and all that.
So real estate investment trust, people are, looking at initiatives to get funding. So they're setting up different type of trust to buy and build properties and manage them. And these are innovative ways of getting funding. Developers are looking at different ways of, when you can't get construction loan and all that, they partner with other people, they do JVs, they set up a trust. These are ways people are getting funds for their project. However, technology is where the world is rapidly changing. There's a lot of things happening right now because of technology, because of information. And so technology is going to have a lot of impact in the way we live. I spoke about smart home the other time. And you also know that abroad now, warehousing is a big thing because the way we now sell things online.
E-commerce.
E-commerce. So you have warehousing being built all over the place because, you have to warehouse this thing. So there's a lot of things that is going to come to play in the nearest future because of all these opportunities coming up in terms of changes in the environment, the way people do things as we go by. I think that we should start thinking about what we're supposed to do in the next 10, 20 years. I think the biggest problem we have in this country is planning, not even funding. So if you're planning on taking a journey, but you don't know where you want to end up, you're going to beat around the bush. So it's not about money. If we know 10, 20 years' time, this is the population we are going to have. We need to be proactive. We need to look at the infrastructure we're going to have. We need to look at planning on how to get the funding. We need to build for tomorrow, not for the immediate need. So planning for the future is very, very important. What we are doing is we're not proactive. We are reacting to issues. Right now, things are changing so far. You should be ahead of change. And that's the biggest thing we have. And the reason why we have that is we're not people that plan naturally.
That's quite interesting, talking about planning. When you said we need to think about where we will be in the next 10 years, I thought to myself, looking at what is currently on the ground, if we really want to follow a plan, it means so many things will have to go. It's going to be chaotic. I don't even want to picture what it will look like. I don't know. Can we just move on without first addressing some of these challenges, some of this chaos that we've already caused? Is it possible?
So the planning is going to incorporate the current chaos. So imagine that we need homes. We're building a certain type of homes that is going to go out of fashion or we won't be needing in the next 10 years. You're creating more problems. What you need is to factor in where we're going to. Are we going to be building, is Lagos State going to be so dense that we need to be building high rises? If you're giving permitting for 2, 3 floors when we're supposed to be going 20, 30 floors, then you are creating more problems because they're going to come back and demolish it in 10 years' time. That's why planning itself is the biggest thing. We need to sit down on the table, look at everything in a holistic way. I would say that the federal government need to start doing reforms on the real estate. We need to look, real estate itself is an industry that is a big income generating industry and it employs a lot of people. So it can solve a lot of problems for the country. We need to look at the whole issue holistically. And if there is planning, then we need to look at the issue that is happening with people migrating from the north and the east to places like Lagos, the urban area, because there are insurgency or there are insecurities. So if the government is looking ahead and is dealing with those insecurities first so that people can go back to their farms or wherever they are staying, rather than allowing them to come and settle down in the urban area, we can prevent a lot of problems in the nearest future. But Again, I think that we should look at all the problems and have a holistic solution. And I think one of the biggest things we can do is allow local government to deal with housing problem. We should start from the local government. All local governments should be mandated to work with the main. I think local government has a large role to play here because they know the area, they can handle those things. They are on ground.
Right. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the show today. Mr. Femi Rogers, CEO of ROSTON Group, thank you so much for your time on the show today.
Thank you, Perpetua.
All right, my name is Perpetua Fasami-Peter, but before I leave, let me tell you that while tariffs can help to raise revenue and boost domestic production, they also risk a return to high inflation and retaliatory measures from other countries. And in this town hall at the ongoing World Economic Forum 2025, economists debate why tariffs are back on the table and what they could mean for consumers, businesses, and government. The speakers here are Haslinda Amin, TV anchor, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Director General, World Trade Organization, Valdis Dombrovskis, Commissioner for Economy and Productivity, Implementation and Simplification, European Commission. So right now, I leave you with this from the World Economic Forum. Bye for now. I am Perpetua Fasami-Peter.